When people imagine Canada, they often picture a land of snow and ice stretching far into the north. But here's a surprise. Most Canadians actually live further south than many Americans. Toronto, for example, sits at the same latitude as Northern California. In fact, the majority of Canadians are clustered in a narrow southern band, enjoying climates similar to the northern United States. Southern Ontario, with cities like Hamilton and London, is even south of Minneapolis. Canada's southernmost point, Middle Island in Lake Erie, is at the same latitude as Rome, Italy, south of over 24 U.S. states. This means the real story of Canada is written much closer to the U.S. border than most realize. The vast empty north is iconic, but daily life unfolds in the vibrant, populated south. It's a paradox, a huge country, but most people live right near its southern edge. Understanding this is key to grasping Canada's unique character. The 49th parallel is famous as the border between Canada and the United States. It's a straight, imaginary line, but it doesn't reflect where most Canadians actually live. About 70% of Canadians reside south of this border, in cities like Vancouver and the urban corridor from Windsor to Quebec City. The 49th parallel was drawn by politicians, not by nature or habitability. The real reason people settled south of it? Milder climate and fertile land. The Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands offer the best conditions for agriculture and urban life. So, while the border is a powerful symbol, it's misleading. Canada's heart beats in a region aligned with the northern U.S. The line on the map is rigid, but people have always followed the land's natural advantages. This has created a unique situation, two countries side by side sharing similar climates and lifestyles in their most populated zones. The border divides nations, but geography unites their people. The real story is found in the fluid patterns of human settlement, not the lines on a map. The concentration of Canadians in the South is even more dramatic than you might think. Nearly half the country's population, about 20 million people, live in the Quebec City-Windsor corridor. This narrow strip, hugging the St. Lawrence River and the Great Lakes, includes Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. It's just 2% of Canada's land, but it's the nation's economic, political, and cultural engine. National elections are often decided in the suburbs of Toronto and Montreal. Infrastructure, jobs, and investment are focused here, sometimes leaving other regions feeling disconnected. To put it in perspective, California's population is almost the same as all of Canada, but Canada is 23 times larger. The rest of the country is vast and sparsely populated. Even Canada's southernmost point is further south than many U.S. states. For Canadians, the South is where life thrives. For Americans, it's just the northern edge. This difference shapes how both countries see themselves and each other. Canada is a land of empty spaces with most people packed into a few vibrant pockets. That's the real Canadian landscape. Why do so many Canadians live in the South? Geography holds the answer. The Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands are Canada's most fertile and temperate region. Deep, rich soils and a milder climate make it perfect for farming and comfortable living. The Great Lakes moderate the weather, creating longer growing seasons and supporting vineyards, orchards, and diverse crops. This region's waterways, lakes and the St. Lawrence River, have been vital trade routes for centuries. Cities like Montreal, Toronto, and Hamilton grew as ports and industrial hubs. Canals and railways followed, reinforcing the region's dominance. The combination of fertile land, good climate, and easy transportation made this the heart of Canadian society. It's no accident that this area became the country's economic and cultural core. The rest of Canada, by contrast, is defined by harsher climates and tougher terrain. The Heartland's advantages shaped the nation's growth. Canada's story starts and thrives here. Beyond the Heartland lies the Canadian Shield, a vast expanse of ancient rock lakes and thin soil. It covers half the country, but it's tough land for farming or dense settlement. The climate is harsh, long, freezing winters and short, cool summers. Permafrost and poor soil make agriculture nearly impossible. Most communities here are small, built around mining or indigenous traditions. This explains why Canada, despite its size, has a small population. The habitable South is a necessity, not just a preference. The real border in Canada isn't political, it's where the land and climate allow people to thrive. Canada's population is about 40 million. The US has over 340 million. The difference isn't space, it's habitable land. The US has vast temperate regions. Canada has just one, the Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands. Europe, with less land than Canada, supports over 450 million people thanks to its fertile, temperate climate. California alone nearly matches Canada's population. Most Canadians live in a southern corridor, much like a big American state. The rest of Canada is more like Alaska, wild, resource-rich, and sparsely populated. This shapes Canada's relationship with the US, close but always aware of the population gap. The two economies are deeply linked, and many Canadians consume American media. Canada's challenge is to maintain its own identity while living next to a demographic giant. Geography and population define the Canadian experience. It's a story of adaptation, proximity, and contrast. Canada's history is written along its waterways. Indigenous peoples used rivers and lakes for travel and trade long before Europeans arrived. The French and British built their first settlements along the St. Lawrence River and Great Lakes, drawn by access and defensibility. After the American Revolution, Loyalists settled along Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, reinforcing the southern pattern. Waterways supplied these communities and connected them to the wider world. Immigration from Europe swelled the population of the southern corridor. Canals and later railways followed the same routes, making trade and travel easier. Cities like Toronto and Montreal grew as industrial and commercial centers. The nation's growth always followed the path of least resistance: fertile land, good climate, and easy transportation. Canada's southern concentration is rooted in geography and history. The country grew from its watery heartland outward. Canada's economy is as concentrated as its population. The southern corridor is the hub for manufacturing, finance, and technology. Proximity to the US, Canada's top trading partner, drives this concentration. Over 75% of exports go south, and industries like auto manufacturing are deeply integrated across the border. Toronto is a major financial center, linked closely to New York. This creates a cycle: jobs attract people, people attract businesses, and the region grows. Other regions like Alberta and BC have strong economies, but none match the diversity and density of the South. When southern Ontario struggles, the whole country feels it. Regional disparities are a constant challenge. Geography, trade, and industry have locked Canada's population and economy into the South. For decades, the Canada-US border was the world's longest undefended boundary, open and friendly. Millions crossed it daily for work, family, and business, especially in the southern corridor. The COVID-19 pandemic changed everything. In March 2020, the border closed to non-essential travel for the first time in a century. Families were separated, jobs lost, and businesses suffered. The closure revealed just how intertwined the two countries are. It turned an invisible line into a hard barrier, disrupting lives and economies. As the border reopened, the experience left a lasting mark. It reminded Canadians why they live where they do, and how geography shapes their lives. The pandemic was a modern test of the deep, complex relationship between Canada and its southern neighbor.